You are now listening to Bull Hook Golf, an unfiltered golf podcast taking you inside the ropes with unfiltered stories, insights, analysis, and exclusive interviews. Welcome back, everybody, to Bull Hook Golf, the podcast. I'm Matt Cook. This is Bobby Brown, and this is episode number 68. Whew. Bobby, I'd take a 68 right now. I mean, my goodness gracious.
If you fire 468s in Detroit this week, you're going to finish tied for 55th.
Or are you even going to make the cut? Well, we'll certainly talk about that.
Yeah, you're going to make the cut. It's par 72. You're going to make the cut.
So on tonight's episode, we're going to go over the leaked partnership framework of the PGA Tour and the PIF. I like to refer to them as PIF, the Magic Fund. You know, it's fun.
That's pretty good.
with that, we also are going to go over clearly the Travelers Championship. And then we got the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit. That's where Bobby's at this week, caddying for SH Kim. Really looking forward to hearing about all of that. And then guess what, Bobby? One of our favorite things ever. Live Golf has an event, and it's happening in Valderrama.
All of a sudden, I just woke up and I was dozing off 15 minutes ago.
And we get to do our golf picks, but louder segment. And then at the end, we will certainly talk about this leaked framework and what it all means. So I broke it all down. I went through it all. I got some key takeaways, and we'll be covering all of that, Bobby. I'll bring you right up to speed, okay?
Right. Yeah, now, dude, that's not my specialty, as you know.
You're, as you like to say, you're a caddy. Right?
I'm a caddy, man. I'm a caddy.
But you're a good numbers guy. Good numbers guy.
Once in a while.
If you need meters or the metric system, Bobby's got you covered.
Quick thinker.
Yeah. And Imperial too. So,
yeah.
You know, that's got to be worth something out there nowadays. Well, Bobby, let's start off with last week's Travelers Championship. Keegan Bradley. What's your takeaway there with Keegan?
I mean, he just ran away with everything, 23 under par. He won by 3. I think he had a 6-shot lead with 6 to go. Started tweaking a little bit, and
isn't it weird when he gets tweaking like that?
Well, I mean, he's always tweaking, but I really noticed it on 13. I could do a pretty good imitation. The screen's not big enough, but I got I could do a pretty good Keegan, a really good Keegan.
You might have to send that to me. You might have to have
one of these days. I'll do it.
Film it.
Look, I don't drink anymore, but I got a quick couple strong IPAs in me. I could do a quick. I did it for him once. He actually liked it. He gave it an 8. So I was super.
8.
He gave it an 8. Solid. That's pretty good. Scale 1 to 10, not to 1 to 100. So it was the Keegan Bradley show. He got a little tweaky late, 6-shot lead. Even with the 6-shot lead with 6 to go, I was waiting for something to happen, because I don't want to say he's a little bit fragile, but he's a little bit different under pressure, and he starts moving around and geeking and all that kind of stuff, and it's hard for him to get set. He is a high energy guy and a high energy momentum player, and he showed a lot of momentum last week. He actually thrashed this. He thrashed this golf course. Cantley put up, if Cantley doesn't hit it, Cantley hits a great shot on 16 right on the par 3 and just skips over, and it's pretty not good back there. You see bogeys and double bogeys back there, and he missed a putt for, I think he missed a putt for par there, and then he stuffed one, a 3-footer or 4-footer on 18, just to kind of like give Keegan something to think about, because you could tell Keegan was like, let's get this over with and get it to the house. But it was, it was great for Keegan. I mean, I wouldn't say he's a hometown hero. He's not a hometown guy. He's from Mass. Obviously, it's very close, but he gets a lot of fan support out here. I mean, he attracts more people this week than anybody else does. I don't mean ticket sales wise compared to maybe Scotty or John Rahm or who have you, but it was a big win for him. God, he's playing some good golf, right? He won Zozo back there during the fall, and now he's got this. And I got to think, I haven't looked at the standings, but that Ryder Cup team and that locker room would be a better place with him for sure, because he brings high spirit, and he's very proud, and he's been in those shoes before. And let's be honest, ever since he went to I'm drawing a blank right now for his putting guy, Phil Kenyon, and he is like a really good putter right now, which is strange for Keegan because he's battled over the years. So, I was pretty stoked to see it because I'm pretty close with him. He had his little boys there and he had his wife with him. And
that was really cool to see that celebration at the end.
I know her pretty good, and I know him really, really good. And I never knew that she was that Carlton Fisk was her uncle.
Yeah, I didn't either until the broadcast.
I didn't know that. Yeah, until the broadcast. I just heard that a couple days ago. So that was kind of cool. I mean,
and then his aunt. I actually didn't know about the aunt.
About Pat. Where have you been living? Under a rock?
Under
Pat Bradley?
Yeah.
Wow.
Under a rock.
His dad was Class A, ran a course, somewhere in
I knew that. I knew his dad was a PGA
yeah.
professional. Now he's out west.
He's bred to be a champion, right? I mean, bred
really
to be a champion, and $20 million purse. I mean, that's $3.6 million. Cantlay had a great week.
That's what I wanted to talk about. Patrick Cantlay, if he sticks that shot, because he went flag hunting on 16, and that's the one that took the hardest bounce that we saw all day, and bounced all the way to the back, and then he had a crappy second shot, and then missed that putt.
Honestly, he was probably 2 paces from somewhat of a kick in birdie there, because you can't see on TV, but anything you land pin high on that flag right there, that golf course has a lot of backs of the greens and certain corners that turn quite a bit down grain, so if you land it pin high, it's going to kick over the back. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, he was posing on it. I'm pretty sure he stuffed on 17 too. He almost had a kick in on 17. And then, if he makes par on 16 and it gets a kick in on 17, and then if he makes that birdie putt on 18, all of a sudden he's sitting at 22 under par, and Keegan only finished at 23, only at 23, right? I was laughing because 19 under was the score last year, and I didn't, we've had 15, 16 win it numerous years past, and honestly, we got some rain and it never firmed up. It was soft the whole time. I mean, if you drove it in the fairway, obviously you were taking dead aim at everything because the greens were holding quite well. But if you hit it in the rough, you could get, you could get stressed out if you go flag hunting out of the rough and you get short-sighted. That's how you make bogeys out there. How do I know this? Because I experienced it the last hour and 30 minutes with my man, S.H. Kim.
Yeah, what happened there, Bobby? You guys were looking in good shape.
We got a bad wave. That's what everybody says, right? We got a bad wave. I mean, we did... I'd be interesting to see what the wave draws were, because we went out early on Thursday and it wasn't easy. It was cold. It was cold and it was a little bit windy for the first 2.5 hours. And man, he just looked great. I mean, he shot 4 under. He looked like he was in complete control of his game. To be honest with you, I was a little surprised, that he missed this cut, because I thought he was just in cruise control. And then, we started on the pack on Friday and made a nice par to get into the round, which 10 is a pretty good hole and 11 is a really short par 3, and he missed a green with a pitching wedge. So, and got just what I told you, got in the rough short-sided on the left and didn't make a putt. And, and then kind of got aggressive, and we were been hitting 3-wood on 12 all week and kind of wanted to force one down there, and he forced one down there. But long story short, he made par there. Then he birdied 13, then he birdied 14. So we got to 5 under, right? Not that you're like close to the lead or anything, but I guess we were anywhere from T25 to T29. Then he stuffed one on 15, missed it, stuffed one, hit a beautiful shot on 16, stuffed it, missed it, hit it to like 15 feet on 17, missed it, had 76 meters, which is like 83 yards on 18, got a seed off down there. And you're like, oh, this is going to be within 10 feet. And he kind of came out of one and had it 20 feet, and everything was fine. And then we got to 1 tee and it really started raining really hard. And he hit this little, still in control, this little controlled cut driver down there. There was just that's why I like this guy so much. He hits shots, right, for the elements and everything like that. And, and he stuffed one in there to like 6 feet and missed that. And then he shanked a 2-iron on number 2 up the hill, a pretty easy hole. And
wait, shank? Just like a hard.
Yeah. I asked him if he shanked it. Not during the fucking round, ladies and gentlemen. Oops, there's the first F-bomb of the day. Not during the round. I didn't ask him, but like a couple days later, I go, "What? Did you shank that?" And he goes like, "Oh, half shank, just half, only half shank."
Yeah, it caught some face, just a little bit of hosel.
and then made bogey, and I'm still not tripping out. Drove it in the rough. Got a jumper on 3, short-sided himself, made another bogey, went flag hunting on 4, which is the best hole on the course, went down the slope, made another bogey. And then the next thing we're playing 6. We're playing number 6, I think, at 3 under. And we know the cut's going to be 4 because we're one of the early groups. We're like the second group off in that wave, Matt. And went driver 2-iron just short on this par 5 and chipped it up there to about 8 or 9 feet and didn't make that. And then now it's stress, right? So now you got, 7, 8, 9 are not. Yeah, 7, 8, 9 are not the easiest holes. I mean, 7's a little dog leg, right? But they got a bunch of fescue on the left. And honestly, now that I think about it, I probably should have I should have done a better job of maybe getting him to hit 3-wood there. He hit it in the left rough both times. But one day I got a gap wedge in, and one day you have a pitching wedge in. So he went after this flag on 7 and short-sided himself long, made bogey, stuffed an 8-iron. We had to go birdie, stuffed an 8-iron on 8 to like 7 feet. And didn't make it. And it's just, I felt like if he'd have made those putts on 15 or 16, I told him yesterday, we probably would have topped 20, but he never lost his shit. He was grinding and trying hard.
That's
I mean, you look at our scorecard, you see we bogeyed 9, but we had to, it's not a drivable hole, but if you take it over these houses, it's a risky drive. Anything can happen, but you can also get one, 20 yards in short in front of the green. And that was probably our best way to make eagle, honestly. And he hit it some high fescue, but I got him to come out Saturday. He's not afraid to work. And, I spent all Friday night, like going through his stats. I'm like, this guy is so good. I can't really pinpoint what needs to be improved other than the fact that he doesn't, for as good as he drives it. And as long as he is, he doesn't, he doesn't hit that close to the hole, but his swing is, you're like, he does, his iron game's got to be good with that kind of action. Then I started pulling up his stats and did some in-depth stuff and had a stat guy, Hunter Stewart, look at some stuff. And it's, he is, for being, I'm going to say we're 71 on the points list now as a rookie, which is pretty successful, even if it ended today, but we were 68 during the week. And I just thought that his stats iron wise, he is, proximity to the hole is not as good to match up the game. So we had a little like board meeting on the range Saturday. And I go, I'm just going to make a deal with you. Just give me 30 minutes on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays to just dial in some numbers and not do so much how the swing is feeling and that kind of stuff, but to kind of do what DJ did some years ago and work on the wedge game, right? So we kind of addressed that. And
guys got the TrackMan out there or what?
Yeah, he's got the quad. He's GC got the quad. Yeah, and he likes looking at the quad, but I mean, when you have a big driving range that's a real good practice facility like we did at Travelers, I like seeing him go at flag sticks, you know what I mean? We know how far they are, and I wouldn't say I'm old school, but it's something to me where I feel like you need a target and you're like hitting a shot, to a flag. So
you can still do that, Bobby. You just got to turn the damn GC quad.
No, he looks at that and then he would, we're trying to get a half swing, a 3/4 swing and memorize the numbers. And after he hits a couple, I can kind of, we were playing a game, like he would hit the shot and I would tell him how far I wanted to hit it to a certain flag and he would hit the shot. And then I kind of guess, if he was close, and he was always within 2 or 3 on the range. So, so we're just going to, he wasn't bummed out. I mean, a lot of guys would get frustrated. It's late in the year, but I think, I walked around all last week. I wasn't really thinking about Travelers in general, but I could just tell by the way he was carrying himself and the way we were kind of clicking, and I'm getting him to talk a lot and loosen up out there. And I just have this feeling that something good is going to happen to him in the next few weeks. And I don't know why I keep thinking it's John Deere, but I went through the same scenario in 2011 with Kyle Stanley when you have a rookie and you help them. Not that I've helped this kid blossom that much, but I'm a new element to him. And I just see so many parallels between him and Kyle Stanley. And Kyle Stanley had a chance to win that John Deere in 2011. So we'll see. I mean, I hope it's,
didn't Jordan Spieth win the John Deere in his rookie year?
He did. Yeah, that was his first win. I think that was Bryson's first win. His rookie year.
It's a great golf course to be a first-time winner.
It is. They do a great job, John Deere. It is a great golf course for a first-time winner. Michael Kim, JT Poston. I'm not even going through. It was the time where Zach Johnson and Strick dominated for so many years, and then all of a sudden, now all of a sudden these rookies start popping up. So, part of it has to do with. It's a week before going over to Europe. Historically, it had always been the week before the British Open, so they don't get the caliber of field that they deserve. I mean, when you think it used to be the joke, you won John Deere, you have to go play John Deere, but now it's got respect if you've been out here for a while because it is a golf course. You do have to get low, but you can get in some big trouble too. Just like last week at Travelers, I know everybody's like, we'll talk about Rory's comments later, but you got to shoot so many under par, but if you get just the slightest bit off, you are under heavy stress. So we'll see how it goes. I hope it goes great this week. We've had tons of rain here. Am I jumping too far ahead into Detroit?
A little bit, yeah. Let's pump the brakes there, Bobby Brown.
Yeah, I'll run down the Travelers leaderboard like I always do because it's written right in front of me and I can't mess it up. I wrote it myself for the record. Brian Harman, your guy showing sparks, 20 under.
That's your guy.
That is my guy. He is officially back. He's back on form. Zach Blair, 999 million to 1 to make the cut, and he makes the cut and he finishes T2 and almost fulfills his medical obligation. I think he just has to make one more cut in a certain amount of tournaments and he's back. But how about that, man? You stumble in and finish second, a $20 million person.
I know if he had finished second alone, he would have met that requirement.
I heard that. Yeah. I heard that. Cantlay obviously should have been second, but he missed that short birdie putt on 18. It must have been 3 feet or 3.5 feet. I don't even think it hit the hole.
A par putt.
What? No.
Yeah.
Was it?
So he missed the green to the left.
What
and then
am I on right now?
He putted up to about, what was it, 4 or 5 feet, and then missed that short putt.
Okay.
You just missed that in between.
Okay. Well, scratch everything I said there for 10 minutes about him birdieing 18, everybody. I don't know what hell I'm talking about tonight. Apparently I'm a little off my game.
17, he stuck it, and he should have made that putt.
And he missed the one on 17.
Correct.
Okay, I got him messed up. I got the part about him bogeying 16 and hitting it long, right? That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just go back to something I know about. Scotty Scheffler finishing in the top 12, finishes fourth at 19 under with Cantlay, with Ches Reavie, who I honestly thought was going to give Keegan somewhat of a battle because Ches loves this course. He won in 2019. Coincidentally, him and Keegan were paired in the last group in 2019. Kind of a horses for courses place out here, to tell you the truth. I mean, Xander played pretty good T19. I watched there's a hotel. I flew out early Monday morning at 6 a.m. and there's a Sheraton attached to the Hartford airport. You literally walk 40 yards if you've been here before. And so
That's
I
fancy
watched
for you, Bobby.
Yeah, it is fancy schmant. Marriott Bonvoy points, bro. Come on.
There you go.
Miss the cut. I'm not putting out any whip on that. I'm burning points. But I was watching God, just laying in bed in my hotel room, being an absolute loser, eating food. And I clicked on the featured groups of Sungjae and Xander. So I got to see every shot. Xander probably made like 10 birdies and shot like 4 under or 5 under. But, he is Xander, and a top 20 is, a top 20 at $20 million person is great. I don't know if it's great for him. Rory had a good week, T7, minus 18. Denny McCarthy, is he going to win sooner or later?
Thank God you said
not?
that, because Denny McCarthy's an absolute stud. He is a stud.
Yes. It's not just the putting. It's the ball striking. I always rave about the putting, but it's the ball striking.
Well, he does have the nicest putting stroke on tour. I mean, that thing
by far
goes end over end right from the start.
It's fun to get paired with him, because when you get paired with him, you know what a great putter is, but you forget about what a great ball striker is. But every putt, getting back to your point, looks like it has a chance to get in. So he, like I said before, he's starting to get in these positions and probably get comfortable with them. He does. If he makes a mistake, he has a hard time. I wouldn't say goes into a dark place for a while, but he has a hard time for a few minutes regathering himself and refocusing. This could be
because he was a basketball player.
Yeah, exactly. Did you see that video of him where he took the other players out to the gym? He didn't miss a 3-pointer.
Dude, hang on a second. He's not the tallest guy in the world, and he played in college.
He's like 5'10". He's like 5'9" or 5'10".
He was a point guard. He was a shooter, man.
He was all state too. But shooter. He didn't miss in that. He did not miss in that competition. Reemergence of JT, Justin Thomas. You remember him? He has not been playing well.
Yeah, and you know what's funny about that? He was on a couple times on the broadcast. They kept showing a couple great shots here and there. And you know what I heard?
What? F-bomb?
No, a lot less talking between him and Bones.
Oh, really?
There was not nearly as much dialogue before the shots or anything like that. It was basically, hey, here's your number, go up and hit it.
Maybe, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to comment on that, to tell you the truth. Maybe he was playing so well that there's not a lot of conversation. You usually have more conversation when the guy's not playing well, right? You want to be a little bit more precise or keep him in there. Food for something. It's food for thought, but maybe they had a little power and they're like, hey, maybe we need to keep it a little more simpler or something like that. But he didn't play great the first day. He shot even the first day, and then he went crazy the next 2 days. And I think he shot 4 or 5 under the last day to finish at 17 under. So good for him. Minwoo Lee. I mean, you got to think this guy's going to kind of win sooner or later. I'm not so sure it's going to be this year. Like I said in the past, he's a little flamboyant out there, but it's no coincidence that he seems to show up in the ones that he's in contention are these big ones, right? Are these, the players, the US Open, he played great. This is a $20 million purse. he just seems to be one of those guys that shows up for the big one. So I think when he pops his cherry, it's probably going to be in something that is not a John Deere field, so to speak. I think it's going to be something bigger than that.
He's getting a lot of experience right now, championship experience, and he's doing really well.
Yeah, and
so
you're
spot on.
He's been ever since he won the Scottish Open a couple of years ago, he's been a world class. Everybody's kind of known about him and his enormous length off the tee and his hands and his ability to just be an athlete and hit different shots. But I think he's going to pop pretty soon. There's another kid that I've talked a few times about, Alex Smalley. He finished in the top 10 again. I think this kid's got a ton of game. I shouldn't say kid, it's his second or third year on tour. And I think he's going to do something good. I don't know if it's going to be this year or if it's going to be next year, but I look for Alex Smalley. There's another guy that's been playing good from Okie State that's a rookie out here this year, Austin Eckroat. Do you know that name?
Yep.
I kind of raved about him. I think he made his debut here last year, if I'm not mistaken, but he has also been on form, throwing up a bunch of top 10s, 15s, and 25. So that's just some things to name about, to think about. Ricky had another good week, T13, Hideki T13 at 16 under. Cam Young, T15 is a good finish for him now. I guess it is recently, because I feel like this is his best finish in 4 or 5 tournaments. Would you agree with that?
Ever since the Masters.
Yeah.
And it almost seemed like the Masters wore him out. And then he just has looked tired. And he's not in sync. And that's the tough thing with his golf swing, with how hard he hits that ball. And with that separation between hips to upper body in transition, because that's where the pause is huge for him. But if his hips go too fast and he gets a little bit out of sync, he's got similar issues as Gordon Sargent, where the hips go too fast and then the arms can't catch up. Tiger had that problem early on. And it's just one of those things to where, he needs to kind of get back into the groove, get comfortable again, get that swing in sync. And I think that's probably, he's trending in the right way. And he played well here last year at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. So
I don't think he's playing this week, though. I'm pretty sure he's off. Yeah, I don't think he's playing this week. Okay. He's definitely, he's not playing this week. I don't think he needs to anymore, to tell you the truth. But I guess my point was, he was such a force for so long. And
I think he'll be back.
I think he's too good. He will be back. But when you go off form for 4 or 5 weeks like that, it's a little bit of a head scratcher. T29 for Sungjae, Willie Wilcox on the bag, made his debut. That's why I wanted to watch it, because I wanted to watch Willie out there when I watched the featured group. And Willie is definitely a good greens reader. Sungjae said he had him in there. It's got to be great to have tour player, 2 guys that are, you could call tour players, reading greens, so he made some putts, but T29 for Sungjae, first time ever that Sungjae's been out this time of year, that Sungjae's been outside the top 30. I think he's 32nd or 33rd. I'm sure he's thinking about it. I'm sure he's feeling it a little bit. Usually he is between 7 and 13 at this time of the year, and he's a mathematical lock for the Tour Championship. So we'll have to keep our eye on Sungjae and see how he does.
How's our boy Lance doing? Is he doing all right?
Yeah, he's back working for the young guy that's got a lot of talent, Brandon Wu. He swooped right into Brandon Wu's. Yeah, right. Well, not really, because one of my best friends was on Brandon Wu's bag, and he was having a great year. Terrible. David Streza. But Lance is connected to that instructor, Jeff Smith, that I've had a few choice words about. That's a little deal there that is not. Listen, Lance is a great friend of mine, blah, 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 blah. But there's some guys that think that how do I say this? Because if Lance hears this, I don't want him to offend him, but I'm not saying this any negatively. There's a few caddies out here that's like, oh, this, Lance backdoored Streza or something like that, which we told the whole story, how Lance found out he got fired via Twitter from Willie. So, I'll put an end to that rumor, but still guys are like talking and that kind of stuff. And Lance doesn't like anybody talking about him. And we talked the other day, and I'm like, fuck everybody, just go do your thing and be a caddy and that kind of stuff. So he's bouncing right back with Brandon Wu this week. We'll see.
Well, good news and bad news. Good news for Lance, bad news for your buddy.
Yeah. Good news and bad news. So I'm trying to think if there was any other caddy changes. Akshay Bhatia fired a guy a few weeks ago, hired a guy named Dino. We call him Dino. He's from Europe. He actually has been out here for a long time, but he was in the early stages with Yako, with Joaquin Neiman, and then he had to take a week.
You're breaking up for just a second, Bobby. Must be our Zoom connection there.
Years ago, and with Are you back?
Oh, you're back. Perfect. Your video's not back, but you're back. Oh, there we go.
Okay, gotcha. It's not my. I'm. Everything's good here. You froze. I'm going to blame you. Anyways, I was going to tell you, Akshay Bhattia's got a new guy on the bag, a guy named Brian Dilley, who has been working for Aaron Wise. And I think Aaron Wise is struggling with some stuff upstairs, and he's not really into golf right now. And he's taking some time off to refresh himself. So that's about it for Travelers.
Well,
but I will say this. I got to say this. There's no better tournament if you're a player or a caddy, the way that the Travelers Championship takes care of you. The food, the way they look out for you. Do you need anything? It is absolutely the top of the line on the PGA Tour. And I just felt like I had to say that.
Love that.
Yeah, there you go. Now we're in Detroit.
Well, Bobby, no, we're not. We're not yet because there was a penny bet.
I was trying to get right by that.
Why don't you let everybody know what you thought took place?
Well, what I thought
you were coming into this episode.
Because when you're caddying a $20 million purse, you don't worry about these goddamn little $10 bets that Matt just seems to have such an ego over right now. But he took Patrick Cantlay, really hard pick there to take. And I went all week thinking that I had Scotty Scheffler. So when Cantlay missed that putt, I thought I stumbled into a tie. And the only thing that Scheffler has in common with the guy that I apparently took Schauffele is both of their names start with an S, and they're both really good. But Matt beat me again. He is now up 7,000 pennies, and he owns the Siwon Kim card, which means I could be in big trouble. But we do have Liv coming back at Valderrama this week, so anybody can finish last.
Don't give away any spoilers mid-episode here.
That's no spoiler. That's fact, Jack. That's fact. So Matt's throttling me. Oh, it seemed like just yesterday I was down to like 1,000 pennies or 2,000.
No, you got up 1,000 pennies. At one point.
It seems like just yesterday I got up 1,000 pennies.
It was just about yesterday, and then about 8 weeks straight. You just
right back to the L.
Yeah,
or is it this side? I don't know. Yeah, I'm back to the L.
I would like to say that I'm pretty good at this, but I mean, you're pretty good at it too when you put your mind to it.
You're better. You're definitely better. I was thinking about throwing up a loopy one out this week, but I don't want to be down 8,000 pennies, and I got enough pressure on me to get this guy into the playoffs. That's for sure. So, are we in Detroit now?
We're so close to Detroit. Okay. We're so close. What about Rory McIlroy's comments about the golf course getting passed by?
I think Mother Nature had a lot to do with that when it got softened up, and you have the best field that you've ever had at the Travelers Championship before. So I surprised to hear those comments? Yeah, I was a little bit surprised because everything he says seems to be spot on and super intelligent, but I don't know if he said it with a full head of steam or not. But I mean, with this golf course is good. And unfortunately you can't control Mother Nature. And honestly, if you get through a week out here, and we've had it before with no rain or anything like that, and they get these fairways moving firm and fast, it's stress, and that's when 14 or 15 under wins. So it's nothing wrong with having a 23 under champion every once in a while. We're going to see it we're going to see it this week in Detroit for sure. 23 might not even win, and we're going to see it right around that number in John Deere next week. So this is just the time of year where we're getting away from golf courses that are super hard. Yeah. They're just not that super hard. And these guys are super, super good and getting better.
And last time I remember, putting is a pretty big part of golf, right? Yeah. I mean, it's kind of fun to see guys like Ches Reavie and Brian Harman Harman does really well on some of those big courses too. Yeah. So I'm not saying that he doesn't play well, but it gives him a better opportunity when he's got some of these shorter golf courses. And I did find it ironic that just played the US Open. USGA was there, and they're the ones that want to roll back the golf ball. And wasn't Rory in favor of rolling back the golf ball?
I'm not sure if he was or not, to tell you the truth.
I think he was, because he said that if they roll back the golf ball, that even in tournaments that I forget exactly what he said, but he would play that golf ball no matter what.
Interesting. I did not see that one, but I don't know if rolling back the golf ball is a bigger thing as Mother Nature, and Mother Nature has a habit of dictating scores, as we will see this week in Detroit too. So.
Are you noticing this, that I'm fighting the sunlight here?
What is that?
That is coming straight out of a window, and I am just battling it right now. So if anybody's watching the YouTube version of this, I am battling the sun. This is, when we do the earlier broadcast, Bobby, I got sun issues out here, but I'll make sure for the next one that we're good on that side of things. But now we can finally get to what you want to talk about, which is our preview of the upcoming Detroit Rocket Mortgage Classic.
Great old school, 100-year-old golf course with really good Poa annua greens, and it's bent grass fairways with a bunch of Poa mixed in. We get some rough and that kind of stuff. I'll back up to Sunday. They had a major storm come through here, and I'm pretty sure a little mini tornado touched down on this golf course because we got an alert Sunday night that the golf course was going to be closed on Monday, and they would make an announcement. All the facilities were closed till noon. It's an old clubhouse. It's an old building. They lose power quite fast. And they didn't open the golf course until about 1:30. They only opened 8 holes, 11 through 18. It was still raining all day yesterday. It is soaking wet out here. They had hundreds of years old oak trees fall down all over the place. It looks quite different in some spots. There's still crews out there doing cleanup right now, but they're going to shoot the lights off of this thing, man. They are literally going to shoot the lights off of this thing. It's going to be high 20s. Somebody could get the 30. Somebody could get the 30 under. I mean, all these par 5s are hittable out here, except for kind of maybe the first one on the front side, which I want to say is number 4, is 635. And when they don't move that tee up, no, I don't think anybody's getting home or anybody's going to try from 635, but it's just soaking wet. I mean, I think the big thing that we focused on today is you get a lot of wedges in here, and it's a lot of slopes in these greens and sections, and there's a lot of spin. So we really focused for 2.5 hours today on hitting, controlling, piercing shots that aren't going to spin. They were still spinning a lot. So I think they're just going to shoot the eyeballs off of it. It's another pretty good field. I mean, it's not as good as last week, but you got JT is playing this year. Obviously Ricky's playing this year. It's one of his sponsors. Tom Kim, Keegan, Max Homa, Hideki, Sung Jae, couple college stars are playing. Ludwig Aberg is obviously still in the field off of PGA Tour University. Gordon Sargent got a spot this week as an amateur. There's a kid that we talked about him, Ross Steelman from G-Tech, from Georgia Tech, who kind of gave away nationals. He's got a spot in this week. So they're just going to, it's going to help to hit it a long way, and it's going to help to hit it straight. They're very generous fairways. There's a couple that you really got to pay attention to, but we went out and played that 11 through 18 yesterday and got pummeled in the rain. I mean, we made it through 4 holes, and we literally were standing in the middle of this fairway with one of the Nicholas Hojgaard, and we're like, do we go in? Do we not go in? And we stood there for 45 minutes hoping it was clear. It never did, and it's going to be a birdie fest. I don't even want to think what the cut's going to be, but it's probably going to be a minimum of 4 under, and it could be 5 or 6 somewhere around there. I haven't given it much thought, but it's a great old school golf course. It's not in the greatest area. It's close to 7 Mile, the famous 8 Mile drive and that kind of stuff. So there's not, there's no economy here or anything like that. And I'm fortunate enough to stay downtown at the MGM this week. A lot of us are here, and we're just kind of all spread out all over. And, we're really waiting for the week to start, to tell you the truth. I'm sure that somebody out here is going to play really, really good and not probably be within 5 shots of the lead, to tell you the truth. So we'll see how it goes, man. I'm excited to get it started, to tell you the truth. I know we missed a cut last week. My guy's swinging good. He's controlling his golf ball, and it's always great to get, great to get a fresh start out here, and I've had some experience here, and he basically whipped her a quick 9 on the front side today. And like I said, we were working on controlling irons and all that kind of stuff, and got to look at the golf course, and it's just soaking wet, and they are going to rip this place up.
I absolutely love to hear it, because truth be told, I like this little stretch of some of these shorter golf courses that do get eaten up a little bit. You get to watch some really good putters and some ball strikers, right?
Yeah.
And that leads me into my next point, which is that has nothing to do with my previous comments, but pretty good segue here in my case, where the air quality is absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
So what's going on there, Bobby? Did you see it today?
I did see it. I told you before we got on, I saw it today, and it's funny. We were finishing up today, and I was with another caddy, Pepsi Steve, and we were in a shuttle going back to where caddy parking is. And I'm like, man, it looks like it is just going to I can't figure out if it's going to pour, or it looked like a day that I grew up playing Little League in Southern California at 12 years old, and they canceled it due to a
smog alert.
4th stage smog alert. And then Matt told me it was because these fires are still going up here in Canada. And it's funny. I'm looking out the window now. It's dark, but I mean, I looked out the window 45 minutes ago, and it's still just, it's disgusting. I had no idea. I thought it was cloud cover, to tell you the truth. Funny why I have this tiny little cough that I've had for the last 2 days too. I wonder if that has something to do with it.
Probably.
Possibly.
I mean, it was the worst air quality in the U.S. this year, which I know. Remember all the photos and everything of when it was going over New York City, and it looks like doomsday. Yeah. Is that what it kind of looked like out there in Detroit?
Yeah, it does. It's a
little orangey.
It's a little grayish. It's got a little grayish orange tone to it. You know, it's funny. I thought with all these fires and these storms all these storms around here, all these rain, not the fires, that, you know, I didn't even think about that. But I forgot to tell you, everybody had travel problems yesterday. I think it was one of the worst days to travel in the United States, especially on the East Coast. So I got out of there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I think the guys on my flight were the only ones to get here on Monday. I can't tell you how many tour players, Sung Jae included, had their flights canceled, had to rent a car at Hartford and drive what you think is a 10-hour drive, but with all the rain, everybody was telling me it was a stressful 12, 13 hours, truckers going everywhere and that kind of stuff. So I still don't think that's enough to keep the scores down, but it was stressful it was stressful for everybody. So, you know, hopefully we'll get rid of this bad, whatever it is, the haze sitting out there. It reminds me of like a movie or something like that, you know, the way it looks. So hopefully
it should be better.
Yeah. Hopefully, keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as we move beyond the Rocket Mortgage Classic, wait a second. I forgot. We have penny bets first.
Oh, yeah. You're the champion.
So I am going to go first. And with my penny bet for the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit, Michigan, I am going to go with, I'm heading back. I'm going old school here, Bobby. I'm going Tommy Kim. Good old Tommy Kim. Let's go, baby.
I'm going to take Sung Jae. It's going to be a Korean showdown. Just because you did that. I knew you were going to take him. You know how good he played there last year, too. And he is, you know, he got off form for a little bit. He's you know, he hasn't been playing great for him. Obviously, he went out and played a pretty decent week last week. Nothing special, but we'll keep looking for him to pop up, because this is really where he popped up last year here in Minnesota. This was the time of year that he got it going. So that's quite a good pick. And I think, you know, Sung Jae finished in T29 last week. It looks like he's swinging great. Willie can read some greens. Usually when a new caddy comes in for Sung Jae, as we know in the past, he seems to play good those first 3 or 4 weeks. And I'm just going to go with let's go with the Korean showdown.
I can't
forget.
We went with the best friends last week. Now we're going with the Koreans this week. I love it.
Yep. We're going with the Koreans this week.
Beautiful. Well, what else now let's move beyond the Rocket Mortgage Classic and let's talk a little bit about one of the guys that you really like. However, he was destroyed in a recent article by Eamon Lynch. Lynch. I don't know how to say his first name. Eamon. But he had an article analyzing the Patrick Cantlay coup. Now, a good old coup d'etat, he said, and he discussed in that Patrick Cantlay is trying to take out Jay Monahan and destroy this entire PGA Tour PIF deal. I mean, did you see that article?
Well, number one, that's news to me, because I did see the article and I never heard anything before that. And, you know, I'm out here every single day. So this coup is not like what just happened in Russia. I don't think it's got that much steam, to tell you the truth, because I just heard about it. And usually you hear some kind of gossip on the range or something like that. I mean, those, you know, my guy's a bigger superstar in training right now, but those bigger players play practice rounds together. You know, they kind of buddy up and everything. And that could be the whole, you know, his whole core group of guys. But I don't think it really trickled down to, you know, if you're outside the top 20 or top 30 in the world. So it was news to me. I'm curious, what is Eamon Lynch's job? Is he just a shit stirrer or a shit talker? Or
If you read the Golf Week articles back when Live Golf like first came out and their first season and everything, that's exactly what he did. I mean, he was a pot stirrer. Now he's on the Golf Channel and I don't know who his sources are. That's one of the great things about writers and the media. And I can't stand it when people go, and we do it too, but at least when we do it, it's not stuff like this to where we're absolutely destroying somebody to go, oh, and per my sources. That drives me nuts because it's like, just come out and say, like, who told you this? How do you know about this? What is your backing to it? And that's where I'm not quite sure, because Patrick Cantlay doesn't really seem to me, other than, remember when we reported last year that he was going to be taking over Phil's team on Live Golf, and he was really flirting with that whole thing.
He flew down to Miami and had a dinner with Phil. He met a couple times. See, I never heard about this, but I heard about all of that kind of stuff too, which is a head scratcher to me. You know, I don't really know. It was complete news to me. Like I said, maybe he's, you know, I mean, there was an agent buddy of mine that was hanging around Travelers last week, and we got into a real in-depth conversation about Liv. And I never really pinpointed, I never put him against the wall on any questions, but I fired out some aggressive questions just for him to give me his opinion or his theory. And I would share my theories with him. And we went over some Liv stuff, and, you know, and I think there's some agents out there. I'm not going to mention any names, Mark Steinberg, but I think there's some agents out there that passed, you know, on some guys not taking the Liv money, and now they're not very happy that these Liv guys might be able to come back. That's a whole different topic, but, you know, it's crazy. I mean, nobody knows what's going on right now, to tell you the truth. For Eamon Lynch to fire that out, I almost feel like that's almost detrimental to the PGA Tour, the way that he writes some of those articles, because Patrick Cantlay is a big star of ours. He obviously stayed loyal. He could have gone. You know,
well, the way Eamon Lynch puts it, that he doesn't sell tickets, that he is boring, that like he took a lot of shots at him in that article. Yeah.
That's right up his alley, though. That's what he does, right? He's a shot taker. And I wonder how long, you know, would you classify Brandel as a shot taker?
Yeah, but I actually, Brandel does it in a way that is intelligent. Like this Eamon Lynch stuff, like I didn't agree with a lot of the stuff that he said during the whole entire Live Golf creation, and then during the first year of Live Golf, and even heading into the second year. And then this article, I didn't really coincide. Like it didn't resonate with me. I'm just like, okay, great. Good for you, Eamon, for creating some fictional article just to stir the pot. That's what it felt like to me, that it's like, oh, there's not enough going on. So he just felt like, oh, let me get some clicks.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know him well enough if guys would do, a guy like him would do something like that. He must have had, you know, I don't think he's going to fabricate that story. He must have got wind of something somewhere, you know, and I'd love to know who his sources are. But like I said, those big time players I thought were a little bit more button lipped than that. So he had to backdoor hear it from somebody, but we'll see how it goes. You know, obviously we had the meeting last week and not much came out of it. I know they had another meeting today. I really didn't, excuse me. I really didn't get any reports yet on it. I think I think it was more of a pack board kind of meeting. I'm not sure if it was a full mandatory player meeting, but I did read one article before we went on the air that said that there was really nothing new. And, you know, the pack board guys were very receptive to the ideas and that kind of stuff. I'm surprised we haven't heard anything about Jay's health or anything like that.
I was just about to ask you that. Great minds think alike. And it's not even on our notes, but I was going to ask you, have you heard anything about Jay?
No, not a word. I mean, not a word. Tyler Dennis and another gentleman that I don't know have stepped into that pseudo role right now, and saw them walking around today. But I haven't. I just think it's, you know, I wouldn't start any shit, but I just think it's weird that nobody is reporting anything about his health, or a little, you know, a memo has come across the PGA Tour to the players or anything like that. So, I mean, you could think, obviously there's a lot of, you know, there's people that think that maybe this is just his gracious way of bowing out and leaving the cards on the table and having the tour move forward with this new deal with the PIF and him not being involved. But, you know, I mean, honestly, you know, be nice to know how he was doing, to tell you the truth. That way it could shut a lot of people up. That's for sure. But it doesn't take a lot of deep intellect to think that something like that is possible. Would it be weird? I mean, does the world work that way when stuff like this happens, that you just like, I'm not saying it's true, but that you would fabricate a story or make up a story, or like, that shit happen all the time.
It happens.
I'm so sheltered. I'm so effing sheltered in my world that I don't know.
That's why so many athletes hate the media. I mean, it was even in the NBA recently, to where, oh gosh, who said it? Somebody destroyed the media, talking about the whole, oh, my source. It's like, if you've got something to say, then put a name behind it. Don't sit there and go per my source or whatever. And I think that's part of the problem with sports media, is that we do end up going to, oh, my source said this, and you're trying to protect the source, but then there's no accountability on the source. So that's one of the challenges behind it. But at the same time, yes, articles get made up like that. And here's the thing. There's no accountability behind that. It's just, and it goes towards your credibility and things along those lines. When you do come out with an article like that, there better be, at least within the industry and so forth, some credibility there, or accountability of who actually was telling Iman Lynch about this whole Patrick Cantlay coup, and why did Iman Lynch decide to absolutely try to destroy Patrick Cantlay in that article? I don't know. Is there a vendetta there? Is there something that happened between the two of them? Who knows? Patrick Cantlay doesn't seem like the type of guy to me, and you know better than I do, but he doesn't seem like the type of guy that's really going to be confrontational.
Well, I mean, I think he would always express his opinions, but he's pretty laid back and quiet, and he's not that vocal, and he just goes about his business. I don't think what a coincidence that Iman Lynch is never on campus at a PGA Tour with some of the shit that he says, because he would get confronted. He's just in the studio all the time, right? I just think that that's so convenient for a guy like him. And I think he's a great writer. I've read some of his stuff, and I've kind of enjoyed it, to tell you the truth. But, to take the way that things are right now in the golf world, to take shots at a world-class player like that, I think it's uncalled for, and I don't think it's classy. I don't think it's classy at all. We don't need any of that right now to tell. That's my opinion, man.
We need peace right now. We need people to come together. Peace. Yeah.
We need some clarity, we need some clarity. I need some clarity on how Jay's doing. And that's what I need clarity on. Just some kind of a memo or something that he's recovering from this or he's recovering from that. There's just no details. And it's almost like everybody's kind of forgot about him a little bit.
Did you see the YouTube comment from our boy in Australia saying he doesn't think that Jay's going to ever show face again?
I did see that. Yeah,
that's an interesting one.
Well, you never know, right? You know.
Really don't. Not this day and age. But as we're talking about some of the different controversies and things that got stemmed up by Live Golf, and all of this is due to Live Golf. It was a disruptor in the sport. It separated out the sport. It created a lot of drama, a lot of issues, a lot of great media. And let's go ahead and talk about Live Golf in Valderrama and preview Valderrama. Have you ever been out there, Bobby, with anybody?
No, I haven't. I've never been out there. I've heard, if you talk to anybody that's been there, any of the European Tour caddies, they say it's probably one of the greatest courses in the world. There's trouble on every hole. You really got to play some great golf out there. So I'm excited. I'm excited for our penny bets that Live is back. And it's like they, if this whole PIF thing didn't come up, I mean, when was the last time they played? 3 or 4 weeks ago? It's been about a month now.
It's been a month.
Yeah. It's been a month. So, that's kind of weird in their schedule, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, I think that, from what I heard, it's a super tough golf course. Anybody can win out there. Anybody can finish last out there. So this is going to be another, I would imagine that they are going to probably get a really good turnout there with all the Latinos. Obviously Sergio playing there, and, Chikara and all the Latinos, Joaquin Neiman. I'll put Mito in that group, Carlos Ortiz, so they're probably going to have a great turnout there. I don't think it'll be anything like Adelaide, to tell you the truth. It won't be as raunchy. I think that the Latinos, have a lot of pride and a lot of spirit in their national sports heroes. They like a lot of cervezas, but I don't know that it's going to be like a football or soccer match or anything like that. But I do know it's an unbelievable golf course. Certainly I'll probably never get to go there, but it's certainly one of those bucket list ones for me, that's for sure. And I'll be looking forward to, I might actually watch a little bit, honestly, to tell you the truth. I wouldn't mind doing that, because I just love watching those epic epic golf courses. And I guess it's good to have LIV back. I'm not sure yet.
I always enjoy it, but I know where you're coming from. And here's the thing. These might be the final days of LIV Golf, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we get into the partnership agreement, or at least the framework of it that leaked. But let's go into our nice little golf picks, but
louder.
So we're going to make our predictions for the last place team and the last place individual. So we're going to start off with the individual, which I get the first pick because actually I won the individual because you decided to give up our favorite player of all time in Siwon Kim. And guess what I'm going with?
You're going to go with Siwon Kim.
You said it.
Did you know that he's been grinding? I saw that Kevin Na had his whole team over in South Korea for 3 or 4 days, which includes Siwon Kim, that baller, and one of my least favorite people, Danny Lee, and the long-haired blonde dude, what's his name? Scott Vincent is on their team too. Man, I don't even know who to pick to finish last, but I'm going to pick Phil Mickelson.
Oh, wow. And he was on the Ryder Cup back at Valderrama back in the day.
Yeah, big deal. Whew. Yeah, that's when he could play.
Yeah, that's valid. I mean, he is in his 50s.
If this course is as tight and as hard as I think it is, maybe he's going to shoot a wad. I don't know. But I don't know who else to pick.
I'm so interested because this is a legit golf course that they're playing. And I can't wait to see that and to really over the 3 days. And I mean, fingers crossed that you guys make the cut and everything this week. But if you, for whatever reason, do not, by the grace of God, and you want to jump on and do that live broadcast of golf with me,
Jesus,
we could potentially do that. But we'll talk about that at a later. No, I don't either. I think you're trending in absolutely the right direction. And all right, we made our golf picks, but louder for individuals. But now we have it for the team, which you get to pick first because you won the team the last time. I'm
going to go with Siwon Kim's team that I always pick. Danny Reed, Kevin Na, and Scott Vincent.
Wow.
Who you got?
I absolutely love that pick. I mean, I got to go with the Cleeks again.
Who's on that team again?
Oh, God, you always ask me that.
I do.
It's like Martin Keimer, Graham McDowell. Who else is on that dang team?
We don't need to
Dean
know. Burmester.
Yeah. There's one other. I can't think.
Yeah, there is. There's 4 on the team. Yeah. Hey, did you look at the field? I wonder if Andy Ogletree's still in a spot for somebody.
Well, that's why I didn't go with Smash. I did think about it for a second, but with Brooks playing as well as he is, and on top of that, they're playing a real golf course over there in Valderrama, and I really feel like Brooks plays well on real golf courses that are tough. I'm not betting against Brooks. I mean, you can go against Chase, Koepka, but that being said, I'm not going down that path, which Andy Ogletree did play in that. DJ is probably going to play pretty well. I mean, he's been
golf course.
He's been in form. Can I say that? Like he
on the LIV tour,
he's played well in the majors.
What? Not really.
But not to his level. That's the problem with expectations, though. Because for him, we look at it as a failure. But if he was anybody else, you'd be like, wow, he played pretty good in both the PGA Championship and the U.S. Open.
But he's not anybody else.
No.
Everybody else.
He's DJ.
Yeah, he's DJ. Ain't got a lot of money.
All right.
What else?
Bobby, we got the partnership framework, okay?
Yes.
The new era of golf, okay? Which I don't know if everybody loves this, hates it, but wants to be politically correct about it. I mean, PIF is going to be running golf. And here's the thing. As I broke it out, here's my few takeaways. So one,
go for it.
There's now a partnership in global golf. So PIF includes LIV Golf. All right. So if anybody said, oh, this isn't including LIV, it's just PIF. No, that's incorrect. Like it specifically states, including LIV Golf. To the NewCo is what they named it. Really original NewCo is the name of the entity. All right. Now with that, NewCo will be controlled by a board of directors. Now, this is where it gets tricky. And for those of you that are not in the business world and don't understand how a board works and everything, you have the chairman, you have the CEO, and then you put people into spots. Okay. Mm-hmm. So with all due respect, everything states that the PGA Tour is going to have the majority of the board seats. So Jimmy Dunn's going to take a spot. There's also, hang on, let me go to my notes here. So Jimmy Dunn's got a spot. Is it Hurley?
Don't even know who he is.
Heril or Lihy. He's on the policy board. He is the PGA Tour's policy board chairman, Ed Hurley.
Okay.
He's going to be on the board. Right now it has the CEO as Jay Monahan, but who knows if that's going to end up coming to fruition with his recent medical condition and nobody hearing from him for weeks. And then the PIF governor, which they refer to as His Excellency, Yasir Al-Rumayyan. So he is the chairman of the board. So he's the head of the head, but the board votes, right? So if anything does happen, the board's going to vote. The one interesting thing that I did take away, though, and we've known about this, not in this much detail, but PIF is going to hold a non-controlling voting interest, and they will operate in good faith with the PGA Tour. PIF's involvement is going to include financial investments, contribution of golf-related investments and assets, and a cash investment to fund the growth of NewCo. PIF will have customary protections and standard governance terms for a non-controlling voting interest, including, and this is the part that gets interesting, including veto and consent rights, preemptive rights for future capital raises. Okay. So basically they have the first right of refusal. So any investment coming in, they basically can say, no, we're not going to accept that sponsorship, which, by the way, the controlling interest is normally always where the money is stemming from. And that's where the pundits have kept saying that, yeah, PGA Tour can say all they want, that they control this whole thing, that they've got the majority of the board seats, that they're taking on all the votes. But PIF can basically say, and PIF the Magic
Dragon,
you know what? They can state, no, we're not going to accept that sponsorship, and we're not going to accept that. So basically, they can really bleed the PGA Tour dry if they wanted to, technically. So yeah, they're going to have a lot of say in everything that goes on. But also, when it comes to LIV Golf, there is going to be an actual evaluation of LIV Golf at the end of the year and its potential integration into PGA Tour and DP World Tour events. So what that's telling me is that you're going to have some aspect of team golf in the PGA Tour and on the DP World Tour. However, is it going to be LIV? That's the question. Is it going to have the LIV titling? Is it going to be the LIV Golf teams? This is the part that we don't know, but it does deem that this is going to be reviewed by Jay Monahan, and pretty much by Jay Monahan alone, in a fair way. So basically, LIV Golf has to the end of the year to show that money is coming in and that it can be profitable down the road. The other interesting thing that I saw is that the Tiger Woods League, the TGL League.
Yeah, I saw that,
just has their first owners of the Los Angeles team.
Now they got a second owner.
Who?
The Fenway Group.
Really? For what team? For Boston.
Boston. Yeah, Fenway Group owns Boston, Pittsburgh Penguins, and somebody else. And they just
what team are they going to be funding?
Oh man, it was up on social media. Rory put it up.
Shoot. I missed that one.
I don't.
Did that come out today, Bobby?
No, it came out yesterday. Okay. Actually, guys started throwing stuff up. It was weird because I was checking out. You guys got Tiger's Pop Stroke there in Scottsdale,
in Glendale,
don't you?
Glendale.
Yeah, Yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
And then I saw this stuff come up on TGL. God, and it was Rory put it up and somebody else too. But I want to say it was it must be Boston. If
it has to be. Fenway Group is investing into it. They probably just haven't announced what city and what name and so forth. But Los Angeles is going to be an interesting one. So I have a feeling, by the way, that this is where PGA Tour is going to be really establishing these teams. And maybe these teams move from just this indoor golf league that's going to be happening to all of a sudden you're going to have an event or two or three, and maybe you even get like an international team and so forth being set up for the DP World Tour in a very similar fashion. So that's where I see this going.
Well, you know where I see it going is I don't know what's going to happen with LIV next year or the next couple of years, but I think also His Excellency's big dream was bringing the whole team format / F1 style thing to golf. And I think that that's where this is going to transition, where we are going to have a certain amount of events where I feel like Yasser's big thing is to bring team golf to the PGA Tour in one form or another.
Yes.
You know, that's like his baby, I would think, in my own opinion. So I would see that happening in the next, I don't think next year, you know, we got a long way to go. We still need
and that's where LIV Golf might live on next year to give them a third full year to see if they can bring in the sponsorships and everything under this new entity. And that would make sense, right? And then it allows guys to get reestablished back into the PGA Tour, pay whatever fines and fees that they need to. Also, if you recall, a lot of those contracts were 3 years long. Yeah. So those contracts are going to expire. So I have a feeling we're going to see LIV Golf next year. But this does pretty much put it in the hands of Jay Monahan. Everybody that said that, and like when Jimmy Dunn did that SI article, he was like, obviously he was telling the truth, but now seeing the actual framework, it's written in there. So I fully expect that Jay Monahan is going to make a decision that probably with the Yasir's influence, but at the same time, I think it's going to last one more year just to make sure everybody is okay with everything, because you can't leave the LIV Golf guys high and dry. I think that would be a mistake.
I don't know.
You think?
Well, I mean, I know, you know, it's funny. I was talking to an official on the range yesterday, and we were talking about, you know, certain guys like Perez. You don't want a guy like Perez coming back, you know, creating a toxic environment, which he's a specialist at on the range. This official I was talking to is like, you know, they're going to dictate these fines depending on their behavior and what they said and that kind of stuff. And he had mentioned, you know, Sergio butchering one of their officials on national television last year at TPC Avenel and that kind of stuff. And the reason why I say that is because there's talking about certain guys coming back have to pay X amount in fines depending on you know, what their involvement was, their anti-PGA Tour involvement. So this agent that I was telling you I was talking to on the range at Hartford was saying, hey, they can fine these guys $40 or $50 million. Big deal. Like, and I'm like, what do you mean big deal? He's like, I'm just not going to tell you anything, but big deal. So I wonder if he was telling me that maybe if they're going to find some of these guys 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 million and make them sit out for a while. Do you think Yasir picks up the tab for that? If LIV goes bye-bye and they don't finish out the last year of their contract, that'd be a conflict. So. That'd be a conflict of interest or something, so to speak, I would imagine.
Yeah. That would be a tough one. You know what? I think Yasir, what he's probably going to do is make it right with the guys that actually matter.
Yeah.
Like I have a bad feeling that the smaller guys and not smaller, but the guys who don't bring in as much for LIV Golf, don't kind of move that needle. I got a feeling they're going to be a little bit screwed. I have that feeling. Yeah. I mean, a guy like Pat Perez probably is going to get screwed over because one, I don't know if he still is eligible for that retirement fund with the PGA Tour. And nobody then on knows. Top of that, you know, what is that penalty going to be? Is he actually going to pay that? Right. It's going to be real interesting, but that's the framework. So when this leaked and I broke it all down. Those were the main takeaways. I mean, really the new board, and the board's going to be the one making all the decisions. But when you have the numbers, and the numbers being in favor of the PGA Tour and how many officials that they have on the board, yeah, that's going to help with a lot of the decision making and everything. The other thing I found interesting is that the PGA Tour and how it operates, and this is the other thing that I don't know legality wise, how you can have a non-for-profit underneath the umbrella of a for-profit business. And that's where they want the PGA Tour to remain the same. And in that framework, it says that the PGA Tour will operate the exact same way that it currently operates today. So not only as a non-for-profit, but also with the policy board, with the PAC. So everything that the way that the PGA Tour is structured today is going to remain. And that's in that framework. So that's a positive for the PGA Tour for sure. And I think definitely a positive being that Jay Monahan gets to be the decision maker when it comes to whether or not Live Golf moves on beyond this year. But everything in there is faithfully, trustfully. So everything is with a grain of salt right now. And all of this can change, by the way. So as they negotiate details and everything, a lot of this can change, which is why don't expect this to be the exact way that this is all going to go down in the end, because now, yes, it's the framework, but now all the details get to be figured out between the two parties. And that might be also why, by the way, that Jay Monahan is technically on a medical leave, because he might be sitting there working out all the details with Yasir. So that's another possibility as well, that he doesn't want to have to be and do all the responsibilities that he needs to for the PGA Tour, especially with how heated players are right now and having to deal with all of that. So he might be in the background working out the details with Jimmy Dunn and going through everything with Yasir. I mean, we didn't know about the secret meeting and the golf that was being played over in London and everything. So I have a feeling that might be what's going on now.
I like what you're I like what you're saying there. That makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. Still have no clarity whatsoever. I'd like to find something out. I'd like to find something out. I mean, first things first, got to play good here at Detroit and try and make the playoffs. You know, that's the big goal. But everybody is. I
forgot to ask you: is SH qualified for the Open yet?
No, he's not. Okay. No, we're going to play in the Scottish Open. I am not. I should know this, but I actually think that this might be a qualifier week. I'm not 100% sure. I know the Scottish Open takes 2 or 3 guys out of it. So no, he's not qualified for the Open yet, to tell you the truth.
So we're on standby at the moment. All right, I got you.
Yeah, we're on standby. So our schedule is Detroit this week, John Deere, Scottish Open, and then we're debating if he doesn't get into the British Open, which would be a huge long shot, to fly all the way back from the UK and go play in Reno, in Truckee at Lake Tahoe, which I'm all for, to tell you the truth, because it's, it's not a high, obviously it's a bunch of great golfers, but it's a very low caliber field for the PGA Tour. And it's somewhere that he could win, to tell you the truth. If I had my way, but there's a rule against it, I would try, if you could do it, I would try like hell to talk him out of going to play links golf, in the Scottish Open and staying over here and playing Barbasol. But if you're qualified for an upgraded event like that, you're required to play in that. You can't just cherry pick and say, no, I'm going to play in the easier event, even though I would love for him to do it, So
that'd be fantastic.
Man, we're winding down the year. We only got like 7 more tournaments to play or something like that. It's gaining fast.
Well, Brad Friedman, our social media guy, he mentioned to me the other day, he goes, hey, are we still going to go up to Napa and go to Silverado? I was like, he's like, that's only like a couple months away. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah. Second week of September or something like that, or the first week of September. I think it's
one of those.
Ryder. Yeah, I think it's Napa, and then I think the Ryder Cup comes up. We don't do anything for a couple weeks, and then we go to Vegas and Jackson, Mississippi. We go through that little run. But I'm trying to think right now. So we have okay, let's count them. We have Detroit, right? We have next week at John Deere. We have the Scottish / Barbasol. That's 4. The British / Truckee. That's 5. Minnesota, Wyndham. That's 7 left in the season. 7 left in the season, and then only 70 make the playoffs this year.
So it's got to be that Memphis, first or second week 50. Of September.
Yeah, it's got to be the first week of September for sure. So we are winding
right
down
around the corner,
Tour.
Bobby.
Yes.
I'll be seeing you in Napa.
Yeah. Oh, wouldn't that be fun? I love Napa, and I love that golf course. And SH Kim played pretty good there last year. I do think my guy, though, if he plays pretty good here and he makes the playoffs and he gets into that top 50, I don't see him playing more than maybe Napa and Vegas. He's getting married in December. December in Korea. So
SH.
Yeah. So he's looking forward to that. And he told me today, he goes, gosh, I miss her. Been over here so long. I miss Korea. But, you feel bad for him because you just take it for granted. He's a superstar in training. His standards are a little higher than where he is right now on the points. I always want to say FedEx Cup list because it is to me where he is on the points list. But then you got to think too, you're like, man, this poor guy's traveling around every week's a different hotel. He doesn't have a home. His wife's here. He has no family here whatsoever. I mean, the Koreans are friends, but other than a random once a week dinner where they all kind of feel like they need to go with each other, it's not like they're all close or hang out with each other or anything like that. They're actually quite ruthless trying to beat each other, So I was feeling a little sappy for him today. That even though you got a lot of money and you're a professional athlete, that there's some things that are missing in your life. So he's going to have to dig deep and see if we can play some golf. And I told you, I got a really good feeling something good's going to happen to him. So let's keep our fingers crossed on that.
Love that. Well, Bobby, we went through, I mean, we recapped the Travelers Championship. We previewed the upcoming Rocket Mortgage Classic,
yes,
which
we did.
You're going to absolutely caddy your heart out there, which
yes,
I absolutely love. We discussed Iman Lynch's controversial article about Patrick Cantlay. We had our Live Golf preview, which basically was just our golf picks, but louder, which I absolutely love. And then we had our partnership agreement with the new framework that had leaked out of the PGA Tour and PIF. And you know what? I feel bad because it's like the stepchild that doesn't get enough attention with, I hate to say this, but with the DP World Tour, it always gets dropped off of all the media stuff. So I'm just going to give it a little bit of credit here. DP World Tour, you're included in this. Okay, bud?
Yes, you are. You're part of the you're part of the family. It's funny you say that. If there was any tour that was hurt, you could say we were hurt the worst by Live, but if there's any tour that was hurt the worst by Live, it was the DP World Tour, because I know golfers left and right all over the world. And I scan down those leaderboards and I'm like, I never heard of 3/4 of these guys, and I've usually heard of 3/4 of the field, not heard of 3/4 of the field, but hopefully things will get up and running for them in the next year or two, with this big marriage going on. Got it?
And for our audience, if you enjoyed the show, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and make sure to leave us comments because we love hearing from you. We absolutely love interacting. And as you can tell, we bring it up on episodes and we discuss it live on the podcast. So definitely leave us some feedback, leave us some comments, and definitely subscribe, follow, all of that good stuff. And if you like the show, go ahead and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. If you don't like the show, just keep it to yourself, like your mama said. Yeah. So there you go. That's our closing remarks for today. And Bobby, thanks again for another great episode. And I hope you have an awesome week out there in Detroit.
Thanks, buddy.
We'll
check in with you next week. Take care, everybody.
Sounds good. Thank you for tuning in to Season 2 of the Pull Hook Golf Podcast. Make sure to hit subscribe and go to www.pullhookgolf.com for more